is eventually, is what comes out, I would say we've had it relatively good in this set of elections.
All right. So what you just explained is quite powerful.
Yeah.
When you compare what you can call the will of the people,
yes,
judging by the narratives that you hear,
yeah,
whether on social media, on the radio, or in personal interactions with people,
yes,
and the process itself.
Yeah.
So does it mean then that it's possible to have scientifically a perfect process that does not give an outcome that reflects the will of the people? Is that outcome possible?
The flip side of
the flip side. I think that is not really going to be possible, and let me tell you why. Because if the process is right, it's very difficult for the outcome not to be right. That is, polls open on time. Everybody has access to polling unit. Nobody is intimidated and prevented from casting his vote. All the votes are counted properly. Collation is done properly. No errors along the line. It's very difficult not to get...
marginal errors.
Or marginal errors. It's difficult not to get the outcome. But the other one is what is now the issue, which is polls opened late on time in some places, late in some places. One or two issues where maybe they stop ballot box here, they use money here. So these impurities now on each part of it, can you still, with all those impurities, still get an outcome that you can say is largely the will of the people? Yes, you can. But that doesn't mean the process was correct. So the young people, yes, might be disappointed and all of that. But I think if you look, and just like you said, you have to also look at the fact that they are changing dynamics, right? I mean, we have a lot of toss-up states. Imo, nobody can say what's happening right now as we speak. It's a toss-up state. Adamawa, nobody can say. Already one party is leading in 18 out of 21 local government, and it's not the person in power. Gombe, it's flipped already. It's decided. Oyo, flipped already in a different way, So what I'm saying is that this clearly shows you that there is some level of credibility going on, right? And what people will is showing. But that does not mean that within these results there are no issues. So for me, the key is just about, first of all, it has to represent what the people want. But then we need to make sure that we get all the processes right, so that we get to the point where naturally the outcome will always match it. And I think also sometimes we must be careful about the emotional narratives, where because somebody expects an outcome, that's now personal, not on a large scale, and that outcome does not manifest, then the meaning of it is that there's a problem with the process. And this narrative is the narrative promoted by most of Nigerian politicians.
Well, you can't convince him otherwise if he has scientific ways to judge or evidence to support his emotion.
It's always very difficult for you to have, evidence. You might have personal evidence to support your personal emotions and sentiment, but except you have indices within which to gauge, the general emotions and sentiment of the people. I think it was on that note that in 2015, in spite of all the challenges, in spite of the card reader failures, in spite of areas where materials didn't arrive early, but because, to use that same word, emotions and sentiment, because the results, was reflective of the general emotions, we overlooked all of the challenges. That's why yesterday we said we closed our eyes and went to sleep, with INEC on the challenges, and we're waiting and just hoping. And also, to use the Nigerian palace, praying that by 4 years, all will be better or improved. Only for us to come 4 years, we discovered that we didn't even take any step at all. And so, take Lagos State, for example. Lagos State's result had been announced. Before the election, I did say something. If you look at the two major contenders, there were issues before the election
That's right.
These issues even made the ruling party in the state not to have given, what is now termed a second term to an incumbent. As at that time, the issue of cleaner Lagos, the issue of the land use charge, a lot of landlords in Lagos, a lot of residents, workers, opinion mothers, were occupying the public space and debating these issues. One would have expected also at that time to see a major opposition party and their flag bearers in previous elections play also a very key role. But these faces were missing. And so, the moment the primaries were held and it produced the Jimmy Agbaji again, and people were like, where has this man been? A sitting governor is denied a ticket by, the ruling party over issues not as serious as this. And then the opposition party that is serious, is giving a ticket to a contestant that you didn't see through all of these issues.
So more like the ruling party got away with an unforced error.
Exactly.
That's right.
And so when that happened, and then you look at the campaigns also, even though I would agree that to some extent, I think it was the campaign posters and the billboards were overkill. But at some point, people were asking, I'm not seeing the PDP. I'm not seeing Jimmy. So at that point, if your personal sentiments or opinion are that, oh look, the Lagos was going to go the other way, that's an opinion that is not backed by empirical evidence on the ground. And so that's where people begin to talk about structures. What are the structures at the local government level? What are the structures at the ward level? Then now let's take it to youth apathy. Yes, we agree there's need for government and leadership to win the confidence of the people in the structures in the system, but also as young people, we also need to understand that it is, in some cases, it is intentional to keep you out of the process, knowing fully whether you have the numbers. And with your numbers, the moment you come, to play in the space, you might upturn, status quo. And so they would not want anything that will interest you to participate. So let's discourage them by ensuring that the process is, manipulated. But knowing fully well that if you come, you have the strength, to also ensure that it is not manipulated. Imagine a polling booth where you have a large turnout of young people, and then you have 2 people coming to want to stuff ballot box. It will be difficult. So, and then they give you the narrative that, look, your votes don't count, so don't even bother. Your vote don't count, don't bother. And yet, the votes that don't count, they attempt to buy it from you. The vote that they tell you don't count, they attempt to buy your PVCs. If they don't count, why buy it? The vote that don't count, on the election day, they tell you, we want to know who you voted for so that we can give you something. The vote that don't count, before election, you see them all of a sudden making promises.
We might be taking a break in less than 2 minutes, but I want to find out from you, in all your foray around electoral centers, polling booths and all of that, did you encounter any form of vote buying?
Oh, very well. It's very common.
Can you explain how these things are done?
How do they do that?
Okay.
I mean,
is it covert? Is it overt?
What kind of negotiation goes into it?
Okay, so I've seen the ridiculous to the very clever. So let me start from the...
This is it. Yeah.
Let me start from ridiculous. So maybe after the break, we'll go to the sophisticated.
Okay.
So the ridiculous is Sagbama, 2015 Bayelsa governorship election. It was in the polling booth, not in the vicinity. The booth. That is not the, there's not the cubicle. The cubicle.
Yeah.
Where you administer election. There is the cubicle, there are ballot boxes, there are some tables.
Yes.
Where, this is basically the polling area.
Yes.
Right? I'm not talking about the booth or...
Yes.
Inside that vicinity.
In clear view.
The guy had a chair, had a small bag, and had 2 500 bundles, making 100,000. Is that what I saw?
Both merchant.
Yes. And as you do it, he was giving 3,000, 2,000, depending, physically. So I called the woman's attention, the police woman that was there. I said, Madam, look at what is going on. Is it not funny? I want to snap this thing. And she said, my brother, there is no problem. That in fact, they are even waiting for what they will give them after the whole thing. That I should go ahead. I'm not joking, Sagbama. 2015 Bayelsa governorship election. That one was open. I don't know about Bayelsa this time. I wasn't there, but we had observers there.
So what you just described betrays reason.
Blatant.
Because that's a contest between multi-parties. So so I want to see.
How does that happen?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, in the 2015 election, there were two major candidates, the APC and PDP. It so happens that the PDP candidate is the sitting governor, and he's from Sagbama. So, and the way Bayelsa politics is, it's a bit violent. So, it's in that Sagbama, basically, it's a stronghold because that's where the governor is from. So, basically, you wouldn't see much of the other guys there. But if you go to Brass Nimbe, that's where you now meet the other side.
They're strong.
Where they play their own.
All right,
so that's part of why it's not so easy to.
Okay.
I will give you more.
All right, that's quite interesting. We can see from the other monitors now our correspondents, Chris Elems and Tokwe Kutei, who have been monitoring the governorship election in Imo State for us, are standing by and they're quite ready to bring us up to speed with what's happening with election collation and announcement in Imo State. Chris, over to you.
Good morning to you, Kayode, and of course to everyone still watching us live on Channels Television. This is actually the Imo State Collation Center in Owerri, and as you can see, it's currently on an hour break. They actually went on break at about 2:30, and of course by 3:30 or so, the House would reconvene again. If you look at the background right now, you see people are actually relaxing because they came in quite early. When we got here very early in the morning, you know, we saw a lot of these people, and of course, unfortunately, the process did not start as early as it was planned.
Yeah, you know, we left, we got here around 7 a.m. and afterwards we met with the REC, who told us that the collation will start at about 11, 12, but not until 9 p.m. You know, when they started, like 4 local governments came out of 27 local governments, 4 came in, and they had to wait for some of that to come before they started. So the collation started about 9:30 p.m.
Exactly.
And you could see people are still here, you know, for the break. Then people start again by 3:30ish or something. We go on from there.
Okay, and so far about 9 local governments have been, results for about 9 local governments have actually been called. And of course, we're looking at a total of 27 local government area. So I'm sure we're going to be here till much later in the day. And we really can't tell how long that would take. For 9 local governments, we've done that for over 6 hours, you know, to do 9 local government. Now, when we spoke to the REC earlier on, that was yesterday, early morning yesterday, he told us that there was a reshuffling process that took place, and so they had to replace some of the original collation officers, you know, and that affected. And
they had to bring new ones from Oka, as in that university in Oka, to take over from some people. Why they